Hey everybody, and welcome back to Ash-Phalt, your podcast all about life on the road. I am your host, Ash Taylor, and today we have a very, very special guest. You guys, please welcome Tyler. Tyler, hello, my friend.
Hey, how are you doing today?
I am fantastic, especially I get to hang out with you. This is going to be so much fun. No, for reals. We were talking about it a little before we hit the record button, but next week, as we're recording this, it's CMA Fest here in Nashville, so fun time of year. But you and I actually met, I believe it was last year at CMA Fest, because we actually did an in-person podcast together.
Yes, we did. In that small little bar.
It was a very small little bar, and it had pinball machines, right? Wasn't that it?
Yes, pinball machines, and yeah, it was random, but it was so cool.
It was, yes. It was like the most interesting podcast episode I have ever done. But I'm just happy you're here. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. This is great.
Oh, thank you. Well, for people that are new to you and just discovering you, I would love for you to start with just telling us a little bit about yourself and your journey and kind of how you got into music.
Oh my goodness. Right off the bat. I mean, this is what this is for. So I was born in South Korea, and I was adopted, and I grew up in a very small town called Trenton, Illinois, a town of 2,500. It's outside of St. Louis, Missouri, and definitely not much there except cornfields and farming and tractors. And I grew up just loving what was coming out of the radio. And I remember at a very young age, my mom would take us out on drives, and it was always either Hillsong Worship or Shania Twain. It was the cassette tapes too, to age myself a little bit. But it was just something that I vividly remember. And I just, grew up in the time where Kelly Clarkson was on American Idol, and it took up until season 4 when Carrie Underwood was on there, and she auditioned in St. Louis. And I was like, oh, people like me can actually go and do this for a living if they wanted to. And I just, from there, every paper we could write in school was, I wanted to be the next American Idol. I wanted to be the next something to do with music. And, from there, I just fell in love with it. Like, I would watch CMT or VH1 when the music videos, I'd get up at 5 a.m. I'd have my notebook and I'd write down the song title, the artist. But then what I loved was they had the songwriters.
Yes.
I soaked everything up like a sponge. And where I got like my vocal training, it was basically from doing choir growing up. But then I would watch old American Idol videos. And
oh, wow.
This wasn't even in the days of YouTube. Like I would record them on VHS, and I would just watch them and try and mimic what they were doing until I could do it. Because again, I grew up in a town of 2,500, so we didn't have a whole lot of music opportunity. So that would be my stage. I would just, in my living room, I would watch them and try and do it. And then right when I turned 16 is when you could start auditioning for those shows. And I would submit some videos here and there. Back in the day where you actually had to send in DVDs, like you actually had to send them out. You couldn't just do it.
Wow. Yeah.
And then that's just how I thought you could only make it. And then eventually went to college in Greenville, Illinois, a small private Christian college that was known for music. I did not go for music because my parents were like, you are going to get a degree in something that's going to make you money. And I did it in social work with a mental health emphasis, and they don't make much money either. But I love the idea of helping people. But what I loved even more was at that college, you could take courses outside of your major if you had the credits. So there was a class there called Rock Ensemble. And if I'm rambling, please cut me off. But,
no, please. I love this. This is such a great story. Please continue.
But there's a class called Rock Ensemble, and it was taught by a man named George Casas. And for those who don't know, he, up until he passed away, he was Gloria Estefan's band leader and bass guitarist. Yeah, just randomly at a small private Christian college teaching. I'll always remember it. It was the first day of class, and I guess also the preface of this class, you were put into a band for a year and you performed once a week and there were themes. So I was like, oh my gosh, this is like real life American Idol. So I was like, sign me up. And, the first day we're in the circle and we have to tell like what our majors are, who we are. And I said, oh, mine's social work. And he's like, oh, I know Greenville had a social work music program. I was like, no, I'm just social work. And I was the only non-music major in that class.
Oh, wow.
And he looked at me, he's like, stay after class, we gotta talk. I said, okay. So everyone leaves, and then I say, and he's like, I highly suggest that you drop this class. And I said, I love music, I love singing, I want to do this. He's like, this is for people who are taking this seriously, and this is for people who are in this major. And I said, I understand, and I take this very seriously. He's like, okay, but I'm going to be extra hard on you. I said, okay. So first week goes by, we do Use Somebody by Kings of Leon. And it was like the big song at the time. Again, showing my age. But I just remember just feeling like this is like it. This is make or break. And we perform. He's like, Tyler, stay after class. We got to talk. I said, okay. And then he looked at me. He's like, it is now my mission to try and convince you to change your major up until you leave this place because you belong here. And I said, oh, this is a different tune than a week ago. And I never changed my major, but he took the time to invest in me that year and like invest in what it looked like for me as an artist and what stage presence would look like and what it was like to be in a recording studio. And then like also kind of taught me what Nashville was. And this is where, Nashville starts to kind of sink into my veins a little bit. But that was freshman year. Jump forward to junior year. He reaches out to me. He's like, hey, I'm looking for some students who have credits to take this class again and kind of just show these freshmen like what's up. And I said, oh, okay. I think I have a couple credits left. Let me, add it. And he puts me with this group and they all do country music. And while I didn't do country music at the time, I grew up listening to it. Like I loved it. That's like what my whole upbringing was about, aside from, worship music. And I just, everything just started to click from there. Like I just was like, I didn't see myself ever singing these songs necessarily because there weren't, just put it, frank, there weren't people like me out there doing country music. And I've been told that a majority of my life, there's no lane for you because of this, that, or X, Y, and Z. But it just made the most sense. And I felt the most confident. And so from there, I just was like, okay, country music is where I need to start to do this. And so started making trips to Nashville in 2014. And what would be like every other month I would go turned into every month. And then every month turned into every couple of weeks. And then I just started to thrive in this community. And it really kind of set off in 2019 when I had a call back to do The Voice. And I was here in Nashville. It was a live audition back in the days where you stood in those lines. But I got to come and do it in person. And I made it up until the final round before what you see on television. And they said, there's no lane for an Asian in country. And then they said, if you did music like BTS, you would have a lane. And I was like, I've gone through 4 rounds of this and you didn't think just to tell me beforehand. But I took it and I left. And that was in February of 2019. And then this is where things get crazy. And I love it so much because to me, it's a God thing. May of 2019 rolls around and Black River Entertainment, who represents Kelsey Ballerini, they were like, hey, we're going to have a stage at CMA Fest this year, and we're looking for unsigned artists to come and do a song. And if we pick you, you're going to come do one song and you'll play CMA Fest. And I remember submitting something. I got the call to do it, and it couldn't have come at the worst time because I was in my best friend's wedding that wanted me to do it. And it was in Peoria, Illinois. And they were like, can you come and sing on that Friday? I was like, I'm in my best friend's wedding. And I said, I made a promise. I made a commitment. I'm not backing out. And so they were like, well, if you change your mind, give us a call back. And I was like, it's probably not going to happen. So just thank you for your time. They get married on that Saturday. I get a phone call right in between the ceremony and the, like, what's it called after? It's the ceremony and
the reception, probably?
Reception. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're taking pictures and I get a phone call. They're like, hey, this is so-and-so from Black River. We had a spot open up on Sunday and they were like, do you want to come take this? And I said, yes. I was like, in my head, I was like, I don't know how I'm going to make it happen, but we're going to make it happen. We get done that Saturday around 11 p.m. I go back to the hotel in Peoria, Illinois. I sleep for 2 hours. I drive 6 or 8 hours from Peoria, Illinois to Nashville, Tennessee. And like around 7 a.m., I call one of my friends who's a guitarist. I was like, hey, what are you doing today? She's like, nothing. I was like, we're playing CMA Fest. Here's a song we're doing. I'm going to be at your house in like a few hours. Let's just crush this. So I get there. We rehearse it once, and then we take off and we go to Music City Center. And it resonated with me there because in the room that we were for CMA Fest was the same room I got told by The Voice that there was no lane for an Asian in country music, who is now playing the biggest country music festival in the country. So that kind of led to me then being like, okay, there's something here. And I moved to Nashville in October of 2019. And then, the world shut down.
Right. Yep.
During that time, I actually made it on The Voice. And we can talk about that too as this goes on. But did The Voice during 2020. And it was out in LA. And then came back to Nashville. And now I'm, living the life of a country artist and a songwriter. And I've done a couple other shows since then. And yeah, but that was a whole lot of talking. But it's what led me here to Nashville. So,
Tyler, that's such like an incredible story, though, man. I mean, that's seriously like so inspiring. I love how much you love music, and for starters, just out of the gate, I'm so sorry that, people in the industry said that there wasn't room or a lane for you here, because I could not disagree more. I think that is so dumb, and I think sometimes with myself being a woman in the industry, I feel like there's a lot of they don't play a lot of female artists, or, do we have to be naked to get on stages some days, right? It's really, it can be really tough sometimes for women, but also for you. And I'm just so sorry, though, that people would look at you and say that or treat you that way. And it really just shows a lot of closed-mindedness, because I remember, like we were just talking about, I met you last year during CMA Fest. We did this podcast interview together, and I remember we played music live, and I remember you went first. And I don't even know now, like thinking back, probably 6 or 7 other people were there, I guess, other than you and I. And we're in a pinball machine room and we're recording this podcast. Like, it's very odd. And I remember you got up and you sung, and I literally, you maybe sang a line or two. And I was like, oh, he's a singer. Like, having never met you, never heard your name. Like, I'm a singer-songwriter. Tyler's like a vocalist. I mean, he's like a singer, right? I mean, it's like, whoa. I was like, I literally went home and I told my husband, he was like, hey, how'd it go? And I was like, oh, good. And I was talking and I had told him, I was like, yeah, the guy that went first, Tyler, I was like, holy crap, dude. I was like, we all might as well just have gone home, okay? Because he was just singing his butt off, and I was like, damn. Like, I was, though. Like, but you're so talented, and you're just also a wonderful soul, and you love music. So the next time that someone says there's not room or a lane for you in this town, I want you to call me, and I will beat them up, okay? I'm just saying. Let's get that out there.
Well, and thank you for that. And I think, now we're in 2025 and life has changed. And I think country music is opening itself up to more. And
yes,
I've been very fortunate this past year to have gone to work with CMA, and they really are trying to champion more artists who are more diverse. And I couldn't be more grateful. And I think for you too, I'm just like, I feel like the industry specifically country, is opening itself up to more women.
Yeah.
Finally. I'm looking at the charts every week and seeing, oh, there's more than just 2 females on like the top 20 on radio. It's now like 4 or 5, which still is not great, but it's increasing. And I think we're learning. I think, country music really got a wake up call when do you remember Tomato Gate?
Oh, I sure do. Yeah.
McBride, and I remember buying a Tomato Lover t-shirt that they were selling, and it's just, to me, I grew up on the females of country music, like 90s and early 2000s, and like nothing to the men, like nothing shading them, because I really do look up to so many males in this industry. But it's the females that, to me, got me really into like what the songwriting process was, because they were about life and heartbreak and love. And it wasn't just, again, no shade, but it wasn't just about a truck or something about that or beer. It was but like, I go back to like Miranda Lambert's The House That Built Me. And I know she didn't write that. The amazing Tom Douglas wrote that. But it's like, you have these songs that are resonating and connecting with people because it gets to the heart of and not just surface level. And so I don't know where I was going with that, but just like for females, so they're so needed.
I cannot agree more. And, something else that you said earlier when you were sharing your story was how you would watch CMT and you would look at the liner notes. So I don't think I've ever told you this story, but so my Nana was the reason I got into country music, right? So again, it was my grandmother. It was a woman that brought me into country music. And I remember being about 13, 14 years old, and I was sitting in her living room at her house, and let's be real, in her double wide in the farm town, California, that I am from. And we're just a bunch of rednecks. But I was sitting in her living room, and I remember she always had CMT on. Always. And she was in the kitchen cooking supper, and I was sitting there, and this thing flashed up on the screen, and it said CMT World Premiere. And this girl came flying off of a four-wheeler singing about being a redneck woman. It was Gretchen Wilson. Do you remember Gretchen Wilson?
So Gretchen Wilson, she's from Pocahontas, Illinois, 15 minutes from Trenton, Illinois.
That's why I like you. Because see, yeah. But Tyler, I remember like it was yesterday watching her come off of that four-wheeler and singing about being a redneck woman. And I looked at her right there and there, and I went, and my Nana walked in the room, and I said, Nana, that is what I want to do when I grow up. And she stopped and she went, what, be a redneck? And I said, hell yeah. I mean, but you're so right though. Nothing against the men. I mean, there are so many great artists, but like the reason why I'm sitting in this chair is because of a woman named Gretchen Wilson. And I think to me, talking about having, relating to people and country music and the stories, when I stop and I really think about it, I was a poor kid, right? And in a double wide trailer in the middle of farm town, California. And the women at the time were incredible women too. But, Gretchen Wilson looked like me. She seemed like my next door neighbor. She represented me and who I am. I'm not, a 4 foot tall, 100-pound blonde Barbie doll. It's like she was a real woman. And then I learned that she wrote songs. And I remember, if you think about that time in country music, there were not a lot of people writing songs. And so I was like, wait, what's a songwriter? And so just like you, I would go look at the liner notes on CMT and like, oh, Tom Douglas wrote that song. And I mean, yeah. And I love that you did that though, because like, that's how I was, right? So I think though that there are people out there clearly that love you and love who you do. And part of the reason why I'm honestly honored that you're here on this podcast today as we're, launching this and kind of getting things going, because I would love to introduce people to you and your music and your beautiful soul. So I'm really excited that you're here.
Also, side note of that, I got chills because I was listening to the radio this morning. I'm one of the random people who listen to the radio. And Gretchen Wilson was on this morning. And she was talking about how at the time there was just this, it's the same. She was not knocking them, but she's like, it's the same what it is for females. And she's like, I was the edge and I was the something different. And the person, she was like, I'm not going to be for the Barbie dolls. I'm going to be for the soccer moms and like the ones who are driving the trucks and for the ones who are driving their kids around with Capri Suns in their pockets and like mess in their hair. She like, those are my kind of people. And yeah, I was just like, I remember her so vividly. And I don't know, did you watch her on The Masked Singer the oldest season?
No, I didn't. I've seen stuff now that I knew she was on it. I know it kind of like totally defeats the purpose of that show, but if they would have told me she was going to be on it, I probably would have watched it.
She won, which is fantastic. And I think, because it was her and Andy Grammer were the final two of the season. No, she's phenomenal. She was talking also because she's releasing a new project, and it's kind of like what Terry Clark did, where she's releasing all of her older like songs, but it's going to be with it's a duets album.
Yes. Oh, I'm going to love that.
Yeah, and she announced like some people that she's asked, some people that, let's see, who's the one? Man, I can't even. Wow, I was so good, and I can't even think of who.
It's going to come back to you at midnight, and you're just going to have to text me, and we'll just edit it in the podcast. But that's.
She did say she's wanting to ask Post Malone to do Here for the Party.
Oh my gosh, that would be awesome. Oh, how cool.
I'm here for that. I will take that one and run with it.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Well, I'm kind of curious if you don't mind sharing, here, the podcast is all about life on the road, and I just love your story and your journey. But so for starters, what all singing shows have you actually been on then? Because we say The Voice, but you've actually been on several.
So as I was talking, television shows were the only way I thought I could ever do music before I found out what Nashville was. And so my story on The Voice that when I finally got on in 2020 and it aired in 2021, my story, besides being an Asian in country music, was how I had auditioned up to that point 83 times in 11 years.
Wow.
And it was for The Voice, American Idol, America's Got Talent, The Four, The X Factor, Songland, and a couple other ones that either didn't pick up or they did, and I can't remember the names. But at the time of The Voice reaching out to me in 2020, America's Got Talent reached out that year, and then there was a show, oh my gosh, I can't think of it now, but it was on Apple Music for one season. It was Casey Musgraves and Reese Witherspoon. It was for diverse country artists.
Okay, yeah.
But all three of them reached out, and then I submitted stuff for them, and then I never heard back from Got Talent. But then it was my choice to pick between the unreleased Apple Music show or The Voice. And I was like, The Voice is at least a sure thing at this point. The Apple Music one, they were still trying to get it picked up. And even though they said Reese Witherspoon was behind it, I was like, there's still a chance that it might not. So I was just like, let's play it safe. And it's not safe. These shows are so hard. But I said, let's just take the sure thing. And so I did The Voice. And we started to do Zoom interviews. They were asking me questions. And then he finally got to the point. He was like, it looks like right here in your application, it was like, you've been told there's no lane for an Asian in country music by labels and different things. He's like, what shows have told you this? I was like, oh, do you really want to know? And he's like, because remind you, it's only been a year up until this, like, they told me that.
Right.
I told him, and he paused our Zoom, and he's like, I'm so sorry that happened. Our casting company has done a kind of a clear of house kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. And, it's better. And it's like, okay. So he resumed. And then that was in May of 2020. I got the phone call that I was going to LA to film in August of 2020. And then we were there probably till towards the end of October. So that was my first taste of it. And then I have done auditions again for Idol and Got Talent. And then during my last year that I was eligible for Idol, I had an executive producer thing. I was there sang, and then they cut me because they were like, they wanted a younger winner. I said, that's fair, but I was like, you don't have to let me win. I just want to be on the show.
Right.
But then my casting director was like, I am so sorry that happened. Can I put you in the running for a different show? And I was like, at this point, I was just like, I'm always going to say yes for opportunity. And I would do it. So it was a show called I Can See Your Voice. It's on Fox, and our episode is still on Hulu. So anyone who wants to check that out can watch it. But it was basically a show where there were good singers and bad singers. And it was a game show setup. There was a host who's usually Ken Jeong, but it was hosted by Nick Cannon for our episode because he had COVID. And it was Adrienne Bailon, who was one of the Cheetah Girls, Cheryl Hines, and then there was a comedian. I can't remember his name. But then, since our episode was the country episode, Maddie and Tay were our guest mentors, judges. And I got to sing with them at the end of it. And I had loved Maddie and Tay. I was the only one who really knew who they were on our episode. So, and I loved it. So we did Fancy by Reba as our duet together.
Great song.
And then I got to sing by myself, Take Me Home Country Roads, and then Rainbow by Casey Musgraves, which that will play a good part into like what's happening now. But fun little insider fact. So I got really nervous because when we were doing rehearsals, they were like, okay, no one can know who you are. Like, it's the whole premise of the show. And so they were like, we have to show your face to the judges and everyone. And I said, heads up, Maddie and Tay had just shared a video of mine the week prior. I did a cover of Die From a Broken Heart. And they also have shared a video of mine because I've done Fly and I did Strangers and I've done one other song of theirs in the past. And I was like, there's a potential chance they might know who I am. And I also was like, I'm also Facebook friends with Josh, who's Tay's husband.
Yeah.
But by the way, y'all, it's Josh Kerr, amazing songwriter. Amazing.
Oh, incredible songwriter. Yes.
And they're like, oh, crud. So they were like, let's just show them and hopefully they'll either recognize you or not. And I was like, oh, God, I'm not doing the show anymore. And they said, and they came back like half an hour. They're like, hey, they don't recognize you. I was like, oh, and the part of that's like, it hurts your pride a little bit. Like, oh, I guess I'm not that memorable. But I was like, oh, that's okay. It's fine. Jump to now, which we filmed in 2022, mind you.
Okay.
Did the show. It aired last summer. So it was like right when you and I met.
Oh, wow.
And I had so that happened. But then this year, 2025, I got invited to the Opry. And I was backstage and Maddie and Tay were back there. So I got to catch up with them. It's been 2 years. But here's the fun part. They were talking and they were like, hey, by the way, we were so happy to see you there because we knew that you were about to sing and blow the roof off this place. And when they showed us your picture, because they were like letting us know, like, if we knew you, you couldn't do it. So we lied. And they were like, you deserve the opportunity to do this. And they were also like, they're about to be blown away because this boy can sing.
See, I told you. What did I say when I met you? I was like, this boy can sing. Oh my gosh. Major, major props though to Maddie and Tay. That's incredible.
Because I would have understood, but I also was at the point where we had been there for 2 weeks rehearsing, and I would have been so sad if I wouldn't been able to actually do it. Because they had 2 alternates in the wing that were ready to come in case something would happen like that. And I was like, and I looked at them, I was just like so grateful because that show really kind of came at a time where I was not giving up, but it was just very disheartening a lot of the time. And I was just like, okay, maybe I gave it a couple years. Let's see what, maybe life has something else in plan. And then that show happened and it became one of the best confidence boosters I needed because everyone on set, everyone in production, everyone who was a part of that show really backed me and pushed me and was like, you're going to do great things. And then because of that show, Ken Jeong, who wasn't even there, for y'all who don't know, he's the judge on The Masked Singer, and he's done like films like The Hangover and all that stuff. But he has over 1 million followers, and he didn't just share, he posted my version, the cover I did of Rainbow, and then that kind of took off. And because of that video, Shane McAnally and Natalie Hemby, who wrote that, now know who I am. And I got to meet Natalie Hemby this past weekend, and she is like, I want to hear everything about you because that video was everything. And it's just like, it just opens you up to like how beautiful the Nashville songwriting community is and just how much we are all champions for one another. Like, I have friends in LA and friends in New York. And when they ask me what the music scene is like here, I'm like, it's not cutthroat like it is in these places. It's one reason I didn't hate my experience on The Voice, but I hated LA, and that's where we filmed. LA is not for me. And they also don't have Cracker Barrel in LA. So that's just a no-go for me.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah.
I had a Cracker Barrel trucker hat while we were out there, and people were like, "What's that?" I was like, "Oh, we gotta talk."
Clearly, they do not like happiness and joy if you guys don't know what a Cracker Barrel is. So, yeah.
But back to it just makes me so happy to know that like we're all here. Yeah, we're all wanting to do the same thing, but we don't have to do it in a way that's nasty or putting other people down. It's, hey, I have this platform. Let me use it to help you. It's like what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
And just everything, like whether it's a co-write or getting coffee or just talking, like to me it's like it's what I love about this business. So that was a long ramble about the television shows I've done, but
no, it's this podcast, like when I kind of got the idea to start it and all, part of it is clearly made for other people like ourselves that maybe do music for a living and they get to travel and play shows or get to go travel to LA and be on TV shows and whatnot, but a lot of it is also like behind the scenes look, behind that curtain for people who have never done it or want to. And, we have a lot of people on here. It's not just musicians. We have, we literally, talk to soldiers, we talk to businessmen, we talk to traveling nurses. I mean, just all kind of walk of life of people who live their life on the go. So I love that. And I think it's interesting. For those though, that are, kind of watching and kind of listening in today and maybe are curious, since you've done the process so many times and you are clearly a pro at this, what is it like, if you can share, what is it like to actually go through the audition process on The Voice? Like, how does it, can you kind of share like how it works from start to finish? Kind of like.
Yeah, and it's fun now because now that I've had like a few of these shows under my belt, people do come to me to do audition prep and I'm happy. But The Voice is so different. And like from our season, because we were the COVID season, so all we really could do was talk to one another.
Right.
It was so shocking to me. Every single one of us. So there's 90 of us out there at first.
Okay.
Almost every single person had a different audition story.
Really? Oh, wow.
So some people did remind you it was COVID. So the open call, that was like the virtual auditions online. And then some people, they submitted videos online. My story was they found a video of mine on YouTube and I got an email and I was just like, okay, this is interesting. Because again, the year prior is when they told me all that, like, there's no lane for you kind of stuff. So I was like,
right,
let's just see how this is going to go. And then from there, once I got the email, I responded. They were like, can you send us 3 videos, like full videos? So I sent them 3 full videos. And then that led to me getting on a Zoom call. That was about 2 hours. And then from there, I didn't hear anything back. So that was in May of 2020 till August. So that was like 2-3 months of just silence. So I just assumed I didn't get it. Like, I'm like, I know what the drill is if you haven't heard back. And
right.
So then from there, we did, this shouldn't be news to anyone anymore, just because I feel like so many reality television show people have talked about like having to undergo like psych evaluations.
Yes.
Like, I'm not going to lie, one of my guiltiest pleasures growing up was America's Next Top Model. I know.
No judgment here. Judgment-free zone.
Thank you. And so over COVID, there was this guy that did all these interviews on YouTube with past contestants, and they all talked about psych evaluations. So then I'm like, when I finally did The Voice, I was like, oh, these actually, you actually have to do them. It was a 4-hour psych evaluation done on Zoom. We couldn't take breaks. And I remember there was all 90 of us were at the time, 90 of us were on the screen and the person was like in the corner and we all had to take it. Oh my gosh. And it was like, do you hear voices? Do you wish that someone would fail? Do you X, Y, and Z? And one of my very favorite stories about this, there was a guy on our season, and one of the questions was, do you feel blue? And he put yes. And like, once you're done with this, like a couple weeks later, you get asked to talk with the therapist there, and they go through it with you.
Okay.
She was like, why do you feel blue? And he was great. I loved him. He said, because I'm a blues singer. And she's like, so you don't feel blue? He's like, no, man, I just sing the blues. And she's like, okay, moving on.
Oh my God.
And it's just like one of those things. And for me, I never quite understood at the time why that we take them until you get there. And you're like, Oh, this is why. Because you're all living in very close quarters together. And
Yeah.
granted, because we were COVID, we had our own hotel room, but you're still like sequestered off. And the one thing that it drove a lot of us nuts was when we got there, we had to quarantine for, I think, 8 or 9 days. And at least in Nashville, at our homes, we could go outside and, get fresh air. We could not go outside, and our windows, because they're hotel windows, they don't open. And then because smokers were like, hey, I need a smoke, they got smoke breaks whenever they wanted. So then a bunch of us started to catch on with that, and they're like, oh, we just picked up smoking, we should go take smoke breaks, because we just wanted to get out. We weren't really smoking.
Yeah.
And then they're like, okay, we're catching on, we will give you guys 15-minute recesses. And we're like, it's not great, but it's something. Let's be real. You're trapped in a room for 8 or 9 days and you can't leave. That does stuff with your mental health.
Yes.
But also, you're there with so many other people in a high stress situation, and they're like, you're a liability if you do something. So that's why they make us take these psych evaluation. And once you pass that, if you pass it, you get to move on. And you, I don't think I should be able to say it's fine. We got on the Zoom a week right before we were supposed to leave, and there was like 112 people on that, and only 90 of us actually ended up flying out.
Oh, wow.
And there was one girl in particular I recognized on our Zoom call, because I was like, oh, she did American Idol years ago, and I loved her, and we're friends now. And then when I got there, I was like, hey, are you here? She's like, no, they cut me before we left. And I was like, you gotta be kidding me. And then I was like so upset about that because, and I found this out, and then there's a guy on our season, they were on the same season of Idol together, and they were like, wanted one person. So they picked the guy over her.
Oh, that's a bummer.
But she's incredible. Her name's Rachel Hale. She's here in Nashville. She does so much songwriting. She's an artist. She has her own cooking stuff. Like,
oh, wow.
And I know. And she's just, I mean, she's taken off now, but it's just like, I was so sad when she wasn't there. But then, we all did it. And this is also probably isn't news, but like, so for like blind auditions, like when you get to watch like the people audition for the coaches and the chairs are turned, everyone probably thinks that those are shot in one day. Like,
right.
Like the pre-stuff. We taped that for like 2 months. Like all of that is like, we had to get our haircut like every 2 or 3 days to make sure it looked the same. Every time we did interviews, our clothes got sent out to cleaning, and like everything had to look cohesive.
Isn't that crazy?
So nuts to me.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, oh, this isn't all done just in one day. They're like, no. And I was like, oh, how was I supposed to know? I've never made it this far. So.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that's probably so surprising, though, to so many people, though, because I think when we watch it on TV, we really do think that it all just was, took place in one day and that was that. And that's so interesting. So I wanted to ask you, that plane, when you hopped on and you actually like flew out to LA then, to do this, what was going through your brain? Like, how were you feeling?
Well, at that time, I had not been on a plane since I was the age of 12. And at that point, I was 27, 28.
Oh, yes, a long time.
And it was during COVID. So we had to mask and do all the stuff. And I vividly remember, because I had never traveled since I was 12 and didn't realize there was a weight requirement. So my suitcase was overpacked. So I had to buy one of the duffels there, and I had to take all my stuff out while everyone was watching and like putting half in this. And I'm just like, because they're like, you're going to be out here for like a month and a half to 2 months. Pack for that. And they didn't tell us if there's a washer and dryer. So I was like, okay, let's just pack all the stuff I have. And so you're getting on the plane, and I'm looking around kind of like, I wonder who else is on the show. Because like, we can't say anything. Yeah. And so I'm like looking around, I was like, oh, who looks like an artist? I couldn't have picked it. And then when I got off, there's 2 people from Nashville, because they had us sporadically come through 6 different days. One of the guys was the guy that did the blue comment. And then the other one, I love him in pieces. His name is Keegan. He's a producer now here in Nashville. Super great. But he had told me this, and I will never get over it. He was like, we met last year, and I didn't remember him. And he's like, I followed you on Instagram after a writer's round, and you never followed me back. And I was like, and he was sitting behind me on the plane, and I was like feeling like someone was just staring at me. And I was just like, I didn't put one and one together. And he's like, dude, we're all good. But I was wanting to tell you that so bad. And I was like, first thing I did was like, followed you.
Oh my gosh.
But the plane, it was just like, you're going through your mind of like, this is what I've been chasing after for years. And it's finally happening. And I was like, I also went into that thinking, oh, I'm just going to be by myself. I wasn't planning on, I was always worried that I was never going to make friends. And I was like, I'm going to be alone. And this is going to be like the worst 2 months. And literally right when we got there, they gave us all like a sheet with people's numbers and we could start FaceTiming, we could do all this stuff. And then I met like my group of people there. And then like, I'm what they call like, even in high school, like a group hopper, to where I'm like, I was in so many different groups because I was just a people person.
Yeah.
So like, and also fun fact, people there thought I was like an undercover producer trying to like let people do wrong things, because I was like one of the very few people on our season who had watched the show.
Oh, wow.
I knew so much. They're like, y'all don't trust this guy because he's an undercover producer and he's going to get us in trouble if we do something. And it was up until like after the first week of us being free, someone told me that. I was like, guys, I'm literally here as a contestant. I just was obsessed with the show.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, that is funny. That is hilarious, though. I love that. So what piece of advice would you give to somebody who's thinking about possibly, going through the audition process and maybe, having their own journey on any of these TV shows, whether it be The Voice? What piece of advice would you give to somebody?
Be yourself. It sounds so cliche, and so many people say it, but it's so true, because you got on the show because of you. And also to remember that it's just a TV show. I think, especially when you're there, they heighten everything to make it be like, okay, this is the be all end all of your career. If you don't do it, you're not going to do this.
Right.
And at the time, you really do believe that. Like, when I got cut, I thought it was the end of all things. I was going back to Nashville as a loser. I was going back to Nashville like no one was going to want to work with me. No one, stuff like that. The reality is there's over 100 of us now in Nashville who've done The Voice, because there's 29 seasons now.
Wow.
And we're all doing just fine. And it's just a TV show, and it's a platform. Like, view it as like what you would do on Instagram or TikTok, but larger. And it's what you choose to do with your opportunity that's going to make or break you. Because it's funny now to me, because I'm the guy that, we joke about this now, I'm the guy that didn't get a chair turn on The Voice, to now being the one that The Voice calls to do NBC stuff for The Voice here in Nashville. Because I just grinded. I used that opportunity, and the show gave me such a beautiful edit. I'm so grateful to them for that. And it's because of that, and because I hustled and I used The Voice in every capacity I could, to where I'm like, okay, people know me from that show still to this day. And it's been 5 years now.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Man, I love that. It's I think that might be some of the best advice I have ever heard regarding that. So thank you for sharing that. That's really awesome. So we have this little part of the show that we like to do, kind of fun, where if you're down, I'm just going to ask you some fun questions. We call it the road rundown. So yeah. So for starters, what's one thing that you never leave home without?
I was going to be so sarcastic and say my keys, but in reality, my keys, wallet, phone, and then my bottle of water.
Ooh, spoken like a true vocalist. Got to stay hydrated. I like that.
Especially here. But like, I think it's because I grew up with my mom, and I'd always make sure she had her keys, her purse, and her phone. And I think I go through that list in my own head now as an adult.
Hey, honestly, it's pretty practical. I mean, I like that answer a lot. I mean, that's the thing. Even if you're just going down to the store, though, it's like, good luck getting there without keys or, buying groceries without a wallet or whatever. So I love that. What's your go-to gas station snack or your guilty pleasure stop?
Oh, that's so good.
Thanks. I'm really proud of myself for these questions.
You should. And I think it's because Kristen Chenoweth even talked about, like, there's only certain things you'll ever get, and it's going to be at a gas station.
True.
Because she loves 7-Eleven. And you wouldn't think the original Glinda on Wicked would be obsessed with 7-Eleven.
But she probably is, because it's awesome. Yeah.
Yes. For me, oh, goodness. Lately, if I travel, I'm very fortunate. I get to pass a Buc-ee's.
Yes.
And I go nuts. Beaver nuggets in both the original and the white cheddar.
Yes.
Diet Coke is always on hand. Love it. I need it in an IV. And then, what else did I buy there the last time I was there? They just started selling chicken strips.
They're delicious. Yeah.
Real good. I was like, I don't remember when, but I was like obsessed. So there, I also bought a onesie while I was there. So.
Listen, I lie to you not. Okay, so our whole living room downstairs is basically brought to you by Buc-ee's. Okay, like my first time in a Buc-ee's, this girl right here spent $500. I was like, I went crazy. Also, you said Buc-ee's and you said beaver nuggets. So I right now, next to me, as we're here recording in the studio, I have had a Buc-ee's beaver nugget scented candle burning all day.
They have that?
They have that. By the water bottles, like there's like the refrigerator section and there's like the water bottles. Turn around. Everyone I've been into, they make their own candles. So this room that I'm recording in, my studio, literally smells like beaver nuggets. And also, I was on tour for like a week and a half. Like we just got back a couple days ago. And do you see this Buc-ee's mug? Listen, if I see this little beaver, this is where I stop. And it's like Disneyland, but better.
It really is. And I love that so much. And I love that you brought up the candle because I'm going to now have to go buy it.
Mm-hmm. When you said beaver nuggets, I was like, he needs to know this info.
I do, because I didn't know they made these either. But Goo Goo Clusters has candles too.
Oh, I didn't know that.
They sell them at the little shop downtown, which I avoid downtown like the plague. But
me too.
You go. They have 3 different scented candles, and they're all amazing.
I will have to go check that out. Because see, here's the thing. I love beaver nuggets. I think they're great. If I eat them though, my ass blows up. So what's the solution? What's the solution, you may say? You get the candle, right? It's like, don't eat the Goo Goo Clusters. You're going to get fat. So you just light the candle and it's like you can still smell it. It's still there. So that's my weight loss tip in case anyone was wondering.
I'm going to second that because, myself, because I've been eating healthier this year.
Good for you.
And let's be real, I don't always want to eat a salad. But you know what makes that salad even better? You turn on the Food Network and there's something good and then you feel like you're eating that.
Yes. Yeah. And as you eat your salad. Yeah. Yes. It's a thing. I love that. That actually brings me in, I don't know how you knew this, but it brings me actually really well to my next question, which is actually, so when you're on the road, when you're traveling, you're at The Voice or another TV show and all this, how do you stay healthy, both mentally and physically and spiritually when you're out there on the road? That's a great question. During all the shows, I always would take an hour to do something physical. Ooh, that's cool.
And because, at least for The Voice, because we were in COVID, and once we finally could go outside on a regular basis, that's what we did. We just walked the parking lot and we would run and we would go just hiking a bunch, especially when at the time all you could really order was Uber Eats and stuff. So it was our healthy way of doing that. But then also now we're very fortunate to where there are so many healthier alternatives for food. Yeah. So also a good thing for mentally and spiritually. For me, I wouldn't be where I'm at without God. I think that everything I do is because of him. And so staying in the word and also just surrounding yourself, I think that was the biggest shock to me when I did The Voice. So many people out there are believers and we would have Bible groups, Bible studies, and then we just we talked about life. And I think to me, one of the healthiest things you can do is just talk and listen to. And it's so crazy to me in the best way because a lot of those people are still in my life today. And I'm in an actual men's group right now with one of the guys that we started the whole thing with back 5 years ago. So, wow. Yeah. I love that, Tyler. That's such good advice.
I actually today posted something on my social media that I think a lot of people in the industry would tell me not to, but I posted my Bible, because I've started every day, whether I'm on the road or not, opening my Bible and I read a chapter, and then I sit in prayer and I have coffee and have my coffee out of a Dolly Parton mug, and but then I start my day. But I love that you shared that, and so thank you for being so open though about your faith, because I think we need to, like, again, part of the reason why I'm starting this podcast and all is like, I wish that there were people like you and myself that when I was starting out touring, that I basically would be able to listen and actually get a real idea of like what it would be like, right? Not the lights and the camera and what we see on Instagram, but like, okay, what is this really like? Like if I go to The Voice, what do I need to know? What do I need to do? But also like how to stay healthy, and how to take care of yourself, whether that's whatever. So thank you for being so strong and bold and sharing your faith. I really appreciate that.
Absolutely.
When you're playing shows out right now, is there a favorite song, whether it's a cover or one that you've written, that like it's just your favorite to sing right now?
So I have been, over the last few years, I've been very much so known, and I will get told if I don't sing it that I need to. On the show, I did More Hearts Than Mine.
Yes.
It was written by Derek Sutherland and Sam Ellis and Ingrid. When I got back to Nashville, I was very fortunate to work with a producer, Keegan. It was the guy that was sitting behind me that was like, you didn't follow me. He came back and did the version I wanted to do. And it was a slow, just piano and me version. And it was just everything that I wanted. And so when we put it out, streams weren't super great. And I was just like, at the time, I was just like, if I can get 100 streams within a week, I'm fine. That's
right.
Great. And then somewhere in between, it took off, like after like 2 years of it being out, and it now has almost 200 streams altogether. And then it went on to being a radio single in the Netherlands, which I never expected. And it reached top 40 in the Netherlands. And then in Australia. And I was just like, what is happening? And then I found out a few months ago, it started to get airplay in the Philippines. And I was like, what is this? And I think I love taking songs, like for people who want to do covers and how to make them different or make them your own. One of the easiest ways to do that is just if you're a male, take a female song, cover it and make it your own. If you're a female, take a male song. And I would get so many messages, so many like from fans and just people listening, like they're like, it sounds so different from the original in terms of like it's clicking different. And I love that we all have these interpretations. I think one of the best messages, I screenshotted it, I still have it, and whenever I do get a studio of my own, I'm going to blow it up and post it in like but she was talking about how it made her think of when Trisha Yearwood and Leanne Rimes both put out How Do I Live. When you listen to Leanne Rimes, you know that's a singer's just singing her butt off and doing it. But when you listen to Trisha's, you not only get the voice, but you get the heart and the meaning behind it. She's like, your version of More Hearts Than Mine is where I get the heart of it. And then when you compared me to Trisha Yearwood, I was like, okay, we're good. Life is great.
Life is wonderful. Yes.
It resonated with so many people. And so I love singing it. And you would think after 5 years I'd get tired of it, but I'm like, I don't yet. And I think for me, it also pushes me to write more music that will eventually click with other people that's an original. And I'm starting to get that with originals as well, which is really nice.
Love that.
But yeah.
That's so awesome. So I'm curious, do you have any kind of like a pre-show ritual? Anything that you like to do, fun, quirky, or just warming up? What do you do before a show?
This is so not attractive. I basically have a panic attack before I go on. I cause so much anxiety and stress on my heart and in my mind before I hit the stage. And then, like, even my guitarist tells me, chill out. You've done this many times. We're fine. He's like, go there, go pray. You're fine. And then I pray, and then I chug a bunch of water beforehand. And then I always have Vicks cough drops in my pocket.
Nice.
Yep, I will never leave the house without them. But yeah, I caused myself to have almost a panic attack. It's not pretty. It's not great, and probably will be frowned upon one day. But it just, I don't know why. It's like, I think it's because every time I perform, I treat it as it's my last.
I love that.
Just because I think for me, you never know when our last, whatever is going to be our last. And I think for me, one of the movies that I loved was Country Strong with Gwyneth Paltrow and Tim McGraw. That last, and this isn't giving anything away for people who haven't seen it, but go watch it. People, she gives her all at the ending. And I just vividly remember that because I was just like, you know what? You never know when it's going to be your last. So
yeah,
with everything you got.
Man, that's, again, guys, solid advice right here. Take notes. Yeah, absolutely. I can't remember the exact quote right now. I probably should look it up, but I know when you go to the listening room here in Nashville, there's that quote from Waylon Jennings on the wall that talks about how treat everything basically something about a dress rehearsal, but it's like the same thing where it's like you give it your all or nothing. And I love that. I love that you have so much heart, Tyler. That's so great.
Well, thank you. I used to get told, like, why do you give your all every time? Because even if it's like for a writer's round that has 3 people there.
Right.
Because I'm like, you never know who's you're going to touch in those songs that you're doing. Like, yeah, there might be 3 people there, but one of those 3 people might have needed to hear that song today.
Yeah. Sometimes as an artist, especially like, as we've been doing more touring and stuff and ticketed shows and all that kind of stuff, it's clearly very different than showing up to a bar and playing covers. And Lord knows I've done years of that. And so, as over the years, like after COVID, as we've kind of moved into things and kind of grown a lot, right? That's the one thing I've really had to stop and ask myself is, are you really showing up here to help people, to entertain them, to relate to them, connect with them? Or are you really just showing up here to be a diva? Those are different things.
And for me, I vividly remember me and some friends went to Cross-Eyed Critters at the Graduate Hotel. It's a karaoke bar.
Yeah.
And it was right after Toby Keith had passed. And I, for some reason, like people were doing like his songs and up-tempo ones. And then for some reason, I just felt compelled. I was going to do like a little tribute and ode to him. That wasn't his song. But I did Go Rest High on That Mountain by Vince Gill, which as karaoke people, like, yeah, slow songs are looked down upon most of the time. But right. I just felt compelled. And I was like, let's do it. I did it. And that whole room was so captivated. And I remember getting a standing ovation. It wasn't for any reason, but I was just like, I just felt like this is my way of honoring him. I had people coming up to me that night that were just so appreciative. They were like, we needed to hear this tonight. And it's like, again, like it was karaoke. It was supposed to just be fun. And we ended up having fun no matter what. But I just, something propelled me to do Go Rest High on That Mountain, and it resonated. And for me, I was just like, I didn't do this for myself. I just was like, I felt compelled, and maybe someone just needs to hear it. And there was a whole room of people that just needed to be touched that night. So,
oh, yes, I love that. I love that. So what is your go-to karaoke song?
I have a few now. So fun fact, I used to not karaoke at all. And over the last like year and a half, friends of mine just would take me out. So, because also for me, this will sound a little diva-esque. I would like it to be in my key. And for me, it's so hard. So I practice beforehand so I know what songs work.
Right.
Lately, it's been either Miranda Lambert's Mama's Broken Heart.
Yes.
To rock out a little bit. Keith Urban's Someone Like You. And then I do throw a slow one in there just in case. And it's been lately I Won't Let Go by Rascal Flatts, or because I just love it so much. And I love a story song. It's Dirt Cheap by Cody Johnson.
Oh, what a song. What? Oh, I love that. I love that. Those are great song choices. I love it. Yeah. I love the song too. I have to say, good choice on Mama's Broken Heart. That is one of my absolute favorites. I'm a huge Brandy Clark fan who wrote that, of course, with Casey Musgraves. Yes, yeah. Brandy Clark's my hero. If she wants to come on this podcast, if she's listening, Brandy, please, it would be great. But I love her. I really do. But I do a cover of Mama's Broken Heart almost every show that we do, because it's like, well, it's written by Brandy Clark, who's my hero, And of course, Casey Musgraves, I love. She's fantastic. And then I actually had a song on hold with Miranda Lambert that she ended up not releasing. And so I got that song back. So I've always just had a big love though of Miranda Lambert, the women, the feisty, fierce, I mean, they're great. So I love that, Tyler. I need to come see you do karaoke then so we can do Mama's Broken Heart together.
Absolutely. And Brandy Clark is amazing. I saw her years ago when she opened for Sugarland on their reunion tour.
Oh, wow.
And I was just blown away by her. I was like,
Oh, dude, I have seen her live more times than anyone else. And we follow each other on Instagram, and I've gotten to meet her several times. And I just I just am a big fangirl. I ain't gonna lie. I like everyone else I have kept it so cool with over the years, but her, I remember the first time I met her. She looked at me and I was like trying to play it cool, but she was like, "I really like your shirt." And I said, "Thanks. I really like your songs." Like, oh gosh, what an idiot. But she loved it. She thought that was so nice. She's like, "Thank you." And I mean, she was wonderful, but I literally was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so dumb. I can't believe I like your songs." But I do like her songs. They're so well written.
Because they were where we were at one point.
Yes.
And I'm glad you actually said that, because I know this is your podcast, but I was going to ask you, like, what artist or songwriter have you seen the most? So I was like, I'm glad you...
Oh, no, I love that. You're going to flip the script on me? I love that.
I just love asking people that question.
Well, it's a good one. So I'll tell you what, I'll answer it if you then answer it. So for me, it is Brandy Clark, hands down. I also, though, other artists, when I think about people who have really inspired me or I really model myself after, Loretta Lynn, hands down. Loretta Lynn was my first country song. Loretta Lynn is my introduction to country music because I learned to listen to country music from my grandmother, and that was her favorite artist. And then, of course, Gretchen Wilson, like we talked about. Huge hero. And I think lastly, I grew up in Bakersfield, California. So Bakersfield, for those that don't know, is actually what they call the original Nashville. So we basically have Buck Owens and Merle Haggard and Dwight Yoakam and kind of that Bakersfield, that California country. So I always list Buck Owens as being one of my biggest influences. And I actually really loved the advice too that you gave a little bit ago, where you were talking about cover songs and how do you make that your own? And a cool way to do that is for a guy, to do a girl song, or a girl to do a guy song, because it does take on a totally different thing. And that's something that I love actually doing, because it's different. I love when Dwight Yoakam does maybe Fast as You. Me as a woman, when I do it, it's different, but yet it works, right? So I love that advice you gave. So how about you? Now you have to answer. Flip the script back around.
Okay, the artist I've seen the most, Brett Young.
Okay.
And for many reasons, but I'll quickly do it. He, to me, was one of the main males that really flipped the script in a time when radio was only playing bro country.
Yes, agreed.
And I couldn't relate to bro country because I just couldn't. And he came out with In Case You Didn't Know and Mercy and I Loved You. And I was like, oh, men can start singing about this stuff now.
Yeah.
And I've seen him maybe 12 times in my lifetime. But then him and I had a very special moment that I did not expect. In 2 weeks right before I left to do The Voice, he did a Ryman show. And we all had to be. You've been to the Ryman, right?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Those pew. There was only 3 people per pew.
Yeah.
And there was all spaced out, and we had to wear masks. And there was a part where he did a Q&A, and I said, and him and I had never met, but he had commented on so many of my videos, liked them, reposted them, and I just was like, I remember being timid, and we had our mask on, and I was just like, and I said, this isn't a question, but you've shared my music so much on your Instagram. And I just want to say thank you for inspiring. And he cut me off. He's like, hey, Tyler. And I was like, I didn't say my name at that point. And I was just like, and I have a video of it. Some really nice lady took it and I've shared that on Instagram. And he just was like, this guy is one of the best voices in Nashville. And he's like, at the time, just moved here. And he's like, dude, you belong here. And anytime you share or post something of mine, I'm gonna always share it back. And he's kept his word. And
wow,
he has just been so great to me. And so him, and then Carly Pierce has been another big one for me.
Oh, I love Carly. Yeah,
she has also, it's so weird. Like they always say never meet your heroes, but for me it's worked out. Like I first saw her, she did a show in Pigeon Forge called Country Tonight, and it was with her, Janelle Arthur, and it was like a variety show.
Yeah.
A photo of her somewhere in the archives where she had jet black hair, and it was me when I was like 13. And like I have a CD of her doing like Tim McGraw and like Settlin' by Sugarland and all this stuff. And that was my first introduction to her. So then when Every Little Thing came out, I was like, oh my God, it's her.
Oh, wow.
I was still living in Illinois at the time, and I started posting covers on the piano, playing her stuff, and she was like, hey, I'm going to be in St. Louis doing the show. Would you like to come? And I was like, oh my gosh, I've been wanting to get tickets. I just haven't got paid. She's like, I'm going to send you 2 tickets and we'll do a meet and greet. I was like, in my dumb self. So this is the I like your songs comment. I was like, okay, how much do I owe you? And she's like, no, you just come for free. And I was like, okay, but do you want to check when I
get there?
And she's like, honey, just come meet me. That's all I want. I said, okay. So then I met her that night. Aww. And she couldn't have been nicer to me. And like, she's like, she introduced me to her band, and she introduced me to her manager who was there, and like, watch him. So she played my cover, If My Name Was Whiskey.
Oh, great song.
So good. And I just was like, oh my gosh, she's so nice. And she's been so nice to me ever since. And yeah, so those 2 would be the top 2 that have really pushed what I do now, but also I've seen the most.
Yeah.
Artist and songwriter.
Such good stories. I love that. Tyler, this has been a blast, my friend. Thank you so much just for taking the time to come and hang out. I have so enjoyed this, and hopefully at some point you'll be able to come back on and keep us updated with you and your travels and all that you're doing.
Absolutely. I got more stories, so let's do it.
All right. Awesome. Well, hey, I hope people listening to this will definitely do the right thing and go check out Tyler, because he is awesome, you guys. He has music online that you can go stream, check out, follow. So Tyler, if anyone wants to go follow you, where should they go? Where should they check you out at?
Tyler Kohrs Music. It's Kohrs. And I'm on all the platforms and all the social media that we all love so much. But I'm on Spotify, Apple Music, and I have new music coming out, which is exciting. And so both of them are duets, which I am so excited about. If I may plug a little bit.
Sir, this is what we're here for. I want to know. Tell me all about it.
So later this year, I have a song coming out called Healing Side of Hurt. It's an original that was written by Rebecca Thomason, who goes by Rebecca Howell. She was on season 16 of The Voice, and love her to pieces. And we did a duet of that, and we just got done in the studio. And so that will be coming out soon. But I have a song before that coming out on June 6th. So next week during CMA Fest, for those who are listening, this will probably be after, but I am just excited that it will be out by this time that you're hearing this. Me and a guy named Jonathan Perry, he was on this last season of The Voice, so there's clearly a theme of just past voice people getting together, doing music together. I had an opportunity to record a song that I had been a fan of for 16 years now. And I was like, oh my gosh, I finally get to have my own version out of it and make it my own. And the amazing Josh Townsend he came up with the arrangement of it. And it's called The Climb, just a little song called The Climb.
Yeah.
Miley Cyrus in the Hannah Montana movie. But I had been obsessed with that song, and I called it my life song for the last 16 years. And I was just like, I need something else. And so that's when I reached out to my friend Jonathan, and we did a duet version of it, and I'm so excited to have it out because I genuinely believe that song could be mine in terms of everything I've gone through. If I may just share a little backstory really quick.
Please, yes, please.
Songwriting nerd. So Jesse Alexander, who co-wrote it with John Mabe, everyone thinks Miley Cyrus wrote it because of the Hannah Montana movie. She did not. No shade, love it, but she did not write it. I vividly remember listening to the Bobby Bones podcast where Jesse Alexander was on and talked. Do you know the story?
I've heard this story, but please tell it. I love this story.
And it made so much more like heart sense to me.
Yes.
So I've been in this town for like 11 or 12 years as a songwriter. but she had no like major cuts. She had like a Trisha cut and a Faith cut, but nothing that ever was a single. So then she gets to the point where she's just like, John, I need to write a song just about what's going on, my frustrations with this town. And it was The Climb. Flash forward then, Disney comes knocking on doors and like, we're going to film a Hannah Montana movie. And someone at one of the labels was like, you should reach out to Nashville songwriters and have them be a part of this. Jesse Alexander, who was part of Disney for some reason at the time, she submitted her stuff and they found The Climb. And they told her, Jesse, if you can rewrite certain parts of the song, because some of them were religious, we will rewrite the whole movie. And she's like, no, wait, this is not happening. I know this.
Wow.
But she rewrites the parts they asked her, and then they either sent her the script or they sent something to her, and it was basically like, okay, here's the new premise of the movie. It's based around your song. As Miley goes through this big change, she's going to be writing the song. And she's like, no way. And then from there, it just became this big song. And it was her first number one on multiple platforms. It was one of the songs that went multi-platinum. And then she talked about, like, even after that came out, she still wasn't taken seriously as a songwriter. So she had to keep working. And then she wrote I Drive Your Truck, Drink On, Mine Would Be You. Yeah. But the thing I really love, so if people wanted to ever hack my iTunes, which please do not, I have 32 versions of The Climb, all different.
Wow.
But so she came out with her own that she released an EP, and it was like all the songs she had written done the way she would have done them with different people. She has The Climb with Chris and Morgan Stapleton.
Oh, wow.
It is vocally not just vocally, but just the heart of it, because she puts in the original lyrics that got taken out. And so, like, the line where it's like, anyway, but there's a line where she's like, these prayers I'm praying and all this different stuff. So it's just means so much more.
Oh, wow. I need to go listen to this, because I knew the story, but I have never heard the version with Chris Stapleton. And I just can't wait. Like, literally, I'm going to end this podcast and go look that up. That is so cool.
And it's just her and him and Morgan, and it's stripped down to just a guitar, and it's beautiful. Like, I get chills just talking about it, because again, that song has meant so much to me. And so now 16 years later, I get to put out a song that has meant that much. And I got to do it with like one of my best friends and with just a team of people that really just are, like I said, Josh Townsend, who is established in the Christian world. And this is the part. Okay. Sorry, but Mark Fain, he produced it with Josh. Okay. Mark Fain has 7 or 8 Grammys, because he did, I really don't want to butcher this on a podcast. I'm pretty sure he did all the production, and I think bass or guitar work for Ricky Skaggs' albums.
Oh, cool.
Because when we took our photo, he was like, let's go down to the library, take it. And I was like, okay, that's cool. And there's all of his Grammys and CMA awards. And I'm like, oh, nice. Okay, I love it. And then so he produced it with Josh, and then it got mixed and mastered by Robert Brother. And those guys have been so good. And I'm just fortunate where, again, a song that I've been so moved by and inspired by for the last 16 years, now I get to put a version out. So
I am so excited. And that's coming out June the 6th, right?
Yeah. So CMA Fest weekend, baby.
That's right. That's right. So that song then would already be out by the time this podcast airs. So if you guys are listening, doesn't matter what year it is or whatever, go check it out. I cannot wait to hear your version of that, Tyler. I think that is going to be so awesome and so special. Do you have also too, man, it's crazy. Great new music. Do you have any shows or anything coming up anytime soon that you're excited about?
Yes. So, I mean, again, I guess technically this will be after the fact, but like I have a couple stuff for CMA Fest that I'm excited about. And then I am going to start working with a place in Nashville called Anzi Blue. They are amazing. They are in Hillsborough Village, right across from the Belcourt Theater. And I've already done a few shows there, but they want to have us back as a regular. And they're usually ticketed shows, but we don't charge a lot. We know these times are hard, so they're about $10 every time. but we try to do them every other month, and hopefully that will turn to every month. But it's usually me, and then in the past, it's been past contestants from other shows. We've had Kelsey Lamb, we've had Cole Ritter, we've had so many different people, and then I just started to realize, you know what, it closes off. I mean, it's a good theme because so many people have loved these shows, but I'm also like, Nashville's just swimming with talent, and it's just like, how about instead of just people with that story who also may not want to just be known for that story, open it up to other songwriters, other artists, because to me, that's where I started to get involved with when I was trying to find my way. Because, and this I didn't get to say yet, but like, if it wasn't for people like Emily Shackleton, for those who don't know, she wrote Every Little Thing, What He Didn't Do, and If Looks Could Kill by Carly Pearce, Doing Fine by Lauren Elena. So many amazing songs. But she found me just on Instagram one day because I did a cover of Show Me Around by Carly Pearce, and she wrote it. And she was like, I need to meet you. And because of her, so much has opened up. Like, because of her, I got to have my listening room debut. Because of her, I got to debut at the Bluebird Cafe last summer. And it's all these things that, again, it just makes me love the Nashville songwriting community, because here's people like her, Natalie Hemby, Kelly Archer, Brett Young, people who, they don't need to know who I am. They don't have to. They're household names for the most part, and they have their own lives, but they take notes and they take us under their wing. They take the underdog under their wing because they see something special. And so I was like, you know what? Here's my chance to do something at Anzi Blue and bring just the people I believe in, the people that maybe don't get to have the spotlight that they deserve or sometimes even want, but they want to be out there. Like, if I can, like, for me, I'm like, because I've been able to have people like James Rose, which if y'all don't know him, one of the best songwriters in Nashville. Like, he signed, but he's making waves. And fun fact of how we met, it was literally right before I left for The Voice, and he was like, oh, you auditioned? I just auditioned. And it's like, oh, that's great. He's like, yeah, I just got cut. I was like, I just got told I'm leaving next week.
Oh, no.
And I thought, oh, well, there goes that friendship. But we've been friends now for almost 6 years.
It's awesome.
But he is truly one of the best storyteller songwriters you'll ever meet. And maybe you guys can connect and get him on. But I'd
love to, yeah.
Yeah, but you just, again, there's so much talent here. And so that's why instead of it being like reality TV people, I was like, I want to open this up to anyone that I'm like, I don't care that you're on a show. Get up here. You're coming to do this. And so maybe that opens doors, because I would love to have you then as well.
Oh, well, thank you. I'd love that.
And again, I just want the people who love what we do and just love this business, or not necessarily just the business part, but they love what this is. And that's the songwriting comes first. And so long-winded things to say, like, yeah, Anzi Blue has been so good to me, and we're going to have shows there, and hopefully more as time continues. But those are,
That's awesome, though. That's so great. We will definitely keep an eye out. And yeah, I'd love to come share a stage with you again and hang out. And I agree. You know, when I moved to Nashville, let's see, I moved here 9 years ago this August.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I have been through hell and back in those 9 years, but you know, you were talking about the community, and I could not agree more with you, because a lot of people, I remember when I was getting ready to move out here, people were like, oh, it's so cutthroat out there. It's so this, it's so that. And I found the exact opposite. And when I moved out here, short version, I actually talked about this in our intro episode of this podcast, because it's like, well, why are you doing a podcast all about life on the road? When I moved to Nashville, I had never seen Nashville before. I had never been to the state of Tennessee. I sold everything I owned, and I hopped on a red-eye flight out of LAX, and I moved here. And I spent my first 6 months in this town sleeping in the back seat of my Chrysler 06 PT Cruiser. And I mean, I literally knew no one. There was a hit songwriter that offered me an internship. And so I just sold everything and I came. And when I would meet people, though, and they would learn that I was like sleeping in my car and all this stuff. They literally were like, I have a couch. Do you want to come like hang out at my couch? Hey, have you met so-and-so? Like, you need to write. Like, do you know this person, that person? I mean, there were so many people that did not know me from Adam that literally welcomed me. They encouraged me. And it's like they made kind of that really rough journey really part of it, and I love that we're able to, now with this podcast that we're, starting and getting off the ground and all. It's like, this is why I love bringing people like yourself though, Tyler, on here and, kind of sharing your story though and your background. And it's just kind of like this beautiful thing, and I think for me, podcasting honestly is really not that different from songwriting, because as a songwriter, we tell stories, right? And then we put music to it and it's a thing. And podcasting to me is just another way to tell stories. It's a way to connect people and to bring people together. And I'm just so excited to get this going, but I'm so excited to have you. And I just cannot thank you enough for this, Tyler. You have been awesome, my friend, just awesome.
Well, thank you for just letting me, I always say God gave me the gift of gabble. So, let me do that. And this is amazing. You're giving not just yourself a platform to just share your own story in the beginning, but you're giving so many people who may have not had a platform a chance to share their story. And I think as human beings, that's the most beautiful thing we have, besides the gift of forgiveness, but just the ability to tell a story and tell our own story. So,
oh no, thank you. I so appreciate that, and I promise the pleasure's all mine. But yeah, I think even too, because I moved here to be a songwriter and then became an artist later, and with touring and just all the different stuff, like I was talking about earlier, I wish there would have been people like you and I though that were able to maybe share kind of what this is really like. And if a younger me could listen to me now, I think I would have saved myself a lot of trouble, whether that was like, I would have been healthier, happier, more grounded, more know who I was and whatnot. So, it kind of goes back to that thing we talked about where it's like, I'm honestly just starting this podcast because, well, one, I love to talk to. I can go, but it's just helping people, whether that's encouraging somebody or giving them behind the scenes peek or, just here to honestly help and hopefully encourage people. And I feel like today this has been such a great episode. Honestly, probably one of my favorite ones thus far that we filmed. So it's been fun.
And I'll say this really quick, because I never thought about this until I heard it a couple of weeks ago. But because you mentioned, this is hopefully going to help the next generation of songwriters or just people who are wanting to be in the business of sorts. But also, and this stuff you wish you could have told your younger self. But at the same time, if you would have told your younger self this, I don't think that younger self would have gone through everything to make you the person that you are today. And Kelsey Ballerini just did an interview with Vogue or someone, and they asked her, what would you tell your younger self after these last 10 years? She just celebrated 10 years. And she's like, not a thing, because that girl had to learn and go through everything. And if she didn't go through that, what the Kelsey that you see in front of you now, she wouldn't be here. It'd be someone completely different. And I think that's also reasons why you look up to and loved Gretchen Molson, because she's not the cookie cutter. You're not the cookie cutter. I'm not the cookie cutter. If we wanted that, we would have taken a different route, and maybe we both wouldn't be where we are now and telling stories of our hardships, our struggles, to eventually be where we are. And is life perfect now? But, that's the beautiful thing. We're finding ourselves within the imperfections of it all. So.
Can I say, preach, brother, preach? Yes. Yeah. No, you're so right. And, we've talked about our faith and stuff, and I know we have that in common, but that is one thing that I think is so important that I've found through the years, though, where it's like, I believe that God is sovereign. I believe he is in control. I have surrendered my life to him. And so I know that he's in charge and on the throne. And I know that he's working on me daily to make me a better version of me. And it's a beautiful thing to see the change through the years. And I feel like the next time we have you on the show, we'll have more change in your own life. You know what I mean? Where it's like we kind of just keep going and growing. And I love that. I love that.
Amen. I would say, if we would have did this right when you met me last year, it would have been a completely different podcast.
That's right. But
by the grace of God, I'm here now and can be on the other side of some things. So,
Well, I'm glad you're here. This has been so awesome. You guys, again, please go follow Tyler, show him some support, listen to his music, go stream the new song. It should be out now when this podcast comes out. And Tyler, one last thing, go ahead and give your website and everything again for people in case they want to follow you.
Yeah. So website is to be continued.
To be continued.
We're working on it because so many people want that now. But I do have all the social medias: Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. I don't do the Snapchat. Sorry, kids, it's just not my thing. But and I'm on Bands in Town Bands in Town, I think is what it's called.
Bands in Town for like shows and stuff.
Yeah. So like if you guys want to ever follow me on like to where you can see me play, it'll always be on socials, but I also post it there. And then I'm on like Spotify, Apple Music, all that good stuff. So you can hear our version of The Climb, and then hopefully as the year continues, Healing Side of Hurt. So
I love it. Well, you guys definitely go follow him. Stay tuned. Go to YouTube and just search his name, Tyler Kohrs, and you'll find lots of great videos of him singing with his beautiful voice. But guys, thank you so much again for tuning in. You guys be sure to like, share, subscribe this podcast. Leave a comment. Let us know, if something we said resonated with you. Share your thoughts. We so appreciate all of you guys tuning in to listen. It's nice for us to sit here and get to talk, but if people weren't listening, we would not have a reason to be here. So thank you guys. Thank you all for tuning in. And we will see you guys next time further down the road. Bye, everybody.